Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Andy's reflection stared back at him, brown eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The blouse looked perfect, just the right shade of pink to complement his fair skin. He slipped it on over his head, relishing the cool sensation against his skin. "Andy, breakfast is ready!" His mother's voice pierced through his reverie, startling him. Panic gripped his chest as he hurriedly removed the blouse, stuffing it back into the depths of the closet. He grabbed a plain t-shirt and jeans, throwing them on before rushing downstairs. The kitchen was filled with the aroma of bacon and eggs. His parents sat at the table, already halfway through their meals. Andy slid into his chair, avoiding eye contact. "Finally decided to join us, huh?" his father said, not looking up from his newspaper. "You better hurry or you'll be late for school." Andy mumbled an apology and began eating, his mind still upstairs with the hidden blouse. He wondered what it would be like to wear it to school, to feel pretty and confident in his own skin. The walk to school was uneventful, save for the constant stream of students passing by in their various outfits. Andy couldn't help but notice the girls in their colorful dresses and skirts, wishing he could express himself so freely. As he approached the school gates, a familiar figure caught his eye. Barb stood chatting with a group of friends, her curly hair bouncing as she laughed. She wore a flowing sundress covered in sunflowers, paired with bright yellow Converse sneakers. Andy's heart skipped a beat. Barb always looked so effortlessly cool, mixing feminine and masculine elements in her outfits. He admired her confidence, wishing he could be more like her. "Hey, Andy," Barb called out, waving him over. "I love your shoes. Are they new?" Andy looked down at his feet, suddenly self-conscious. He'd carefully chosen these shoes, classic black and white sneakers with rainbow laces. It was a small way of expressing himself without drawing too much attention. "Oh, yeah, thanks," he stammered, heat rising to his cheeks. Barb grinned. "They're awesome. We should go shopping together sometime. I bet you'd have great taste in clothes." Before Andy could respond, the bell rang, signaling the start of classes. As they rushed inside, his mind whirled with possibilities. Shopping with Barb? The idea both thrilled and terrified him. Throughout the day, Andy found himself daydreaming about different outfits. In math class, he imagined wearing a flowy skirt paired with a button-down shirt. During history, he pictured himself in a vintage-inspired dress with combat boots. At lunch, he sat with Barb and her friends, listening to their animated discussion about the latest fashion trends. He wanted desperately to join in, to share his own ideas and opinions. But fear held him back, keeping his thoughts locked away. "Earth to Andy," Barb's voice snapped him out of his reverie. "You okay? You've been pretty quiet." "Sorry, just thinking about stuff," he mumbled, pushing his food around his plate. Barb tilted her head, studying him. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right? We're friends." Andy nodded, forcing a smile. He wanted to tell her, to let all his secrets spill out. But the words caught in his throat, trapped behind years of uncertainty and fear. The rest of the school day passed in a blur. As Andy walked home, his phone buzzed with a text message. It was from his cousin Renee. "Hey, cuz! Want to come over for dinner tonight? Rochelle and I are cooking up a storm. Plus, we just went shopping and have some killer new outfits to show you." Andy's heart leapt. Dinner with Renee and Rochelle always meant fun, laughter, and most importantly, a chance to be himself. He quickly typed out a reply. "Sounds great. Be there at 6 Ike." Renee's response came almost immediately. "Perfect. Can't wait to see you." At home, Andy rushed through his homework, eager for the evening ahead. He stood in front of his closet, deliberating over what to wear. Finally, he settled on a pair of skinny jeans and a soft, oversized sweater in a pale lavender color. As he was about to leave, his mother's voice called out from the living room. "Andy, where are you going?" "Just to Renee's for dinner," he replied, hand on the doorknob. His mother appeared in the hallway, a slight frown on her face. "Again? You've been spending an awful lot of time over there lately?" Andy shrugged, avoiding her gaze. "They're fun to hang out with. Is that okay?" She sighed, waving him off. "Of course. Just be home by 10. It's a school night." The walk to Renee's apartment was filled with anticipation. As soon as he knocked on the door, it flew open, revealing Renee's beaming face. "Andy, get in here, you fashionista in training." She pulled him into a tight hug before dragging him inside. The apartment smelled amazing, a mix of garlic, herbs, and something sweet baking in the oven. Rochelle poked her head out from the kitchen, waving a sauce-covered spoon in greeting. "Perfect timing. Dinner's almost ready. But first, fashion show time." Rochelle grinned, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Before Andy could protest, Renee was pulling him towards her bedroom. "You have to see what we found. There's this amazing vintage shop that opened up downtown, and oh my God, Andy, you would love it." The bedroom looked like a tornado had hit a department store. Clothes were strewn everywhere, on the bed, draped over chairs, even hanging from the ceiling fan. Andy's eyes widened as he took in the riot of colors and textures. Renee dove into the pile, emerging with a shimmering emerald green blouse. "Isn't it gorgeous? I thought of you as soon as I saw it." Andy reached out, running his fingers over the silky material. "It's beautiful," he breathed. "Try it on," Rochelle urged, appearing in the doorway. "I bet it'll look amazing with those jeans you're wearing." For a moment, Andy hesitated. But the excitement in his cousin's eyes and the allure of the beautiful blouse won out. He slipped off his sweater and put on the blouse, marveling at how perfectly it fit. Renee squealed with delight. "Oh my God, Andy, you look incredible!" Rochelle nodded in agreement. "Seriously, that color is perfect on you. Here, let me just..." She stepped forward, gently tucking the blouse into his jeans and rolling up the sleeves. "There, now it's a look." Andy turned to look in the full-length mirror on the closet door. His breath caught in his throat. The person staring back at him looked confident, stylish, and most importantly, happy. I love it," he whispered, a smile spreading across his face. Renee and Rochelle exchanged knowing glances. "Andy?" Renee said softly. "You know you can be yourself here, right? We love you no matter what you wear or how you express yourself." Tears pricked at Andy's eyes. "Really?" he asked, voice trembling. Rochelle wrapped an arm around his shoulders. "Of course, sweetie. You're perfect just the way you are." The dam broke. Andy found himself pouring out everything, his secret love of feminine clothing, his struggles with his parents' expectations, his fears of not fitting in at school. Through it all, Renee and Rochelle listened, offering comforting words and reassuring hugs. "Oh, honey," Renee said when he finished, wiping away her own tears. "You are so brave and so special. Never let anyone make you feel ashamed of who you are." Rochelle nodded emphatically. "And you know what? I think it's time for a full-on makeover. What do you say, Andy? Want to try on some more outfits?" Andy's face lit up. "Really? You wouldn't mind?" "Mind? Honey, we've been waiting for this moment." Renee laughed, already diving back into the pile of clothes. What followed was a whirlwind of fabric, laughter, and transformation. Andy tried on dresses, skirts, blouses, and accessories he'd only ever dreamed of wearing. With each new outfit, he felt a little more of his true self emerging. Renee expertly applied a touch of makeup, just enough to enhance his natural features without being overwhelming. Rochelle worked magic with her curling iron, giving Andy's usually straight hair soft, tousled waves. As they worked, they chatted about everything and nothing. Andy found himself opening up more than he ever had before, sharing his hopes, dreams, and fears. "You know," Rochelle said as she put the finishing touches on his hair, "you should talk to Barb about this. From what you've told us, she seems like she'd be really supportive." Andy bit his lip. "You think so? I'm just scared, I guess. What if she thinks I'm weird?" Renee scoffed. Weird? Andy, you're fabulous. And if Barb can't see that, then she doesn't deserve your friendship. Finally, after what seemed like hours of playing dress-up, they settled on a final look. Andy stood in front of the mirror, hardly recognizing himself. He wore a vintage-inspired tea dress in a soft blue floral print, cinched at the waist with a thin belt. Over it, he had on a cropped denim jacket that added just the right amount of edge. On his feet were a pair of white canvas sneakers, keeping the look casual and comfortable. His hair fell in soft waves around his face, and a hint of mascara made his eyes pop. A light dusting of blush gave his cheeks a healthy glow. "Well?" Renee asked, practically bouncing with excitement. "What do you think?" Andy turned this way and that, taking in every angle. For the first time in his life, he felt truly comfortable in his own skin. "I love it," he said, voice thick with emotion. "I feel like me." Rochelle wrapped him in a tight hug. "That's because you are you, sweetie. This is the real Andy, and he's absolutely wonderful." The moment was interrupted by a loud beeping from the kitchen. "Oh, shoot, the lasagna!" Rochelle exclaimed, rushing out of the room. Renee laughed. "I guess that's our cue for dinner. You want to change back, or—" Andy hesitated for a moment, then shook his head. "No, I think I want to stay like this. If that's okay?" "More than okay," Renee assured him. "Now come on, let's go eat before Rochelle burns down the kitchen." Dinner was a joyous affair, filled with laughter and conversation. Andy found himself relaxing more and more, reveling in the freedom to be his true self. As they ate, Renee and Rochelle shared stories of their own journeys of self-discovery, offering advice and encouragement. "The most important thing," Rochelle said, reaching across the table to squeeze Andy's hand, "is to be true to yourself. It won't always be easy, but it's worth it." Renee nodded in agreement. "And remember, you're not alone. You've got us, and I bet you'll find more allies than you expect if you open up a little." As the evening wore on, Andy found himself dreading the moment he'd have to leave. The thought of going back to hiding who he was felt suffocating. Sensing his mood, Renee pulled him aside as Rochelle cleared the dishes. "Hey, what's going on in that head of yours?" Andy sighed, fiddling with the hem of his dress. I don't want this to end. I don't want to go back to pretending." Renee's expression softened. "Oh, Andy, this doesn't have to end. This is just the beginning." "But my parents, school, I can't just show up like this." He gestured to his outfit. "Maybe not all at once," Renee agreed. "But you can start small. Those awesome shoes you wore today? That's a start. Maybe try painting your nails or wearing a subtle accessory." Andy nodded slowly, considering her words. "And what about Barb? Do you really think I should tell her?" "I think having a friend who understands could make a world of difference," Renee said. "But only when you're ready. There's no rush." They spent the next hour planning and strategizing. By the time Andy had to leave, he felt more hopeful than he had in years. Renee and Rochelle loaded him up with a bag of clothes. "Just until you can build your own wardrobe," Rochelle winked, and sent him off with tight hugs and promises to talk soon. As Andy walked home, the cool night air on his face, he felt lighter somehow. The future still seemed uncertain, but for the first time, it also felt full of possibility. The next morning, Andy stood in front of his closet, heart pounding. After a moment's hesitation, he reached for the bag Renee and Rochelle had given him. He pulled out a soft pastel pink sweater and held it up to his chest, studying his reflection. Taking a deep breath, he put it on, pairing it with his usual jeans and sneakers. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. Downstairs, his mother did a double take when she saw him. "Is that new?" she asked, eyeing the sweater. Andy nodded, bracing himself for her reaction. To his surprise, she simply smiled. "It's a nice color on you. Brings out the warmth in your skin." Relief washed over him. It wasn't full acceptance, not yet, but it was a start. At school, Andy felt hyper-aware of every glance, every whisper. But as the day wore on, he realized most people either didn't notice or didn't care about his slightly more feminine top. During lunch, he found himself gravitating towards Barb's table. She looked up as he approached, a warm smile spreading across her face. "Hey, Andy, I love your sweater," she said, patting the seat next to her in invitation. Andy sat down, heart racing. "Thanks," he managed. I was wondering if maybe you'd want to go shopping sometime, like you mentioned yesterday." Barb's eyes lit up. "Really? That would be awesome. I know this great vintage shop downtown." As Barb chattered excitedly about potential shopping plans, Andy felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He wasn't ready to reveal everything yet, but this was a step in the right direction. The days that followed were a whirlwind of small, brave steps. Andy started incorporating more feminine elements into his wardrobe, a floral print here, a pastel color there. He experimented with different hairstyles and even started wearing clear nail polish. His parents noticed the changes but seemed unsure how to react. There were awkward silences and questioning looks, but no outright rejection. Andy clung to that, hoping that with time they'd come to understand and accept him fully. At school, he found an unexpected ally in his art teacher, Miss Collins. She praised his use of color and encouraged him to express himself freely through his work. In her class, Andy felt safe to explore his identity through various mediums. The shopping trip with Barb turned out to be a turning point. As they rifled through racks of vintage clothing, Andy found himself opening up bit by bit. He shared his love of fashion, his admiration for people who dressed without regard for gender norms. Barb listened intently, her expression thoughtful. "You know," she said as they left the store laden with bags, "I think it's really cool that you're exploring your style like this. Too many people just stick to what's expected of them." Andy felt a rush of affection for his friend. "Thanks, Barb. That means a lot." She bumped her shoulder against his playfully. "Anytime. And hey, if you ever want to raid my closet, you're totally welcome. I bet you'd rock some of my dresses." The offer, casual as it was, nearly brought Andy to tears. He managed a wobbly smile and a nod, not trusting his voice. As weeks passed, Andy grew more confident in expressing himself. He started wearing makeup to school, subtle at first, then more daring as his skills improved. He joined the drama club, reveling in the opportunity to try on different personas and costumes. His relationship with his parents remained strained, but there were moments of progress. His mother started asking for his opinion on her outfits, and his father made an effort to complement his more adventurous style choices. Through it all, Renee and Rochelle remained his strongest supporters. Their apartment became a safe haven where Andy could fully be himself, trying on outfits and identities without fear of judgment. It was during one of these visits, nearly 2 months after that first transformative evening, that Andy made a decision. He stood in front of the mirror, dressed in a flowing maxi skirt and a fitted top, hair styled in loose waves. "I think I'm ready," he said, meeting Renee's eyes in the reflection. "I want to tell my parents everything." Renee's face split into a proud grin. "Yeah, that's huge, Andy. How do you feel about it?" "Terrified," he admitted with a shaky laugh. "But also relieved, like it's time, you know." Rochelle joined them, wrapping an arm around Andy's waist. "We're so proud of you, sweetie. And remember, no matter what happens, you've got us." The conversation with his parents that evening was difficult, filled with tears and confusion on all sides. But as Andy poured out his heart, explaining his journey and his true self, he saw something shift in their eyes. It wasn't complete understanding, not yet, but it was a willingness to try. His mother pulled him into a tight hug. "Oh, Andy," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry you felt you couldn't tell us sooner. We love you no matter what." His father, always less comfortable with emotional displays, simply clasped Andy's shoulder. "This is a lot to take in, but we'll figure this out together." The days that followed were a whirlwind of change. Andy's parents began educating themselves, asking questions and making efforts to understand. They stumbled sometimes, using the wrong words or making assumptions, but their genuine attempt to support Andy meant everything. At school, Andy decided to be open about his identity. He started wearing clothes that truly expressed who he was, regardless of traditional gender norms. The reactions were mixed. Some classmates were supportive, others confused or even hostile. But with Barb and his drama club friends by his side, Andy found the strength to face each day with his head held high. Miss Collins proved to be an invaluable ally, offering support and creating a safe space in her classroom for Andy and other students exploring their identities. She even organized a school art show centered around the theme of self-expression, giving Andy a platform to share his journey through his artwork. As the school year drew to a close, Andy stood in front of his canvas at the art show, nervously watching people's reactions. The painting was a self-portrait showing him in half-masculine, half-feminine attire, surrounded by swirling colors representing his journey. Barb appeared at his side, slipping her hand into his. "It's beautiful, Andy, just like you." His parents arrived, taking in the painting with wide eyes. His mother wiped away a tear, pulling him into a hug. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart. So proud." Looking around at the supportive faces surrounding him, his parents, Barb, Renee, and Rochelle, who had come to cheer him on, Miss Collins beaming with pride, Andy felt a sense of peace settle over him. The journey hadn't been easy, and he knew there would be more challenges ahead. But standing there, fully himself for perhaps the first time in his life, Andy knew he was exactly where he was meant to be. As the evening wound down, Andy found a quiet moment alone with his artwork. He reached out, tracing the lines of the painting with his fingertips. Each brushstroke represented a piece of his journey, the fears he'd overcome, the joy he'd discovered, the love he'd found in unexpected places. He thought about the boy he'd been just a few months ago, afraid to even look at the clothes he longed to wear. That boy seemed so far away now, like a character from a half-forgotten story.
"Hey, you okay?"
Barb's voice broke through his reverie. She stood beside him, concern etched on her face. Andy turned to her, a soft smile playing on his lips. "Yeah, I'm good. Just thinking about how much has changed." Barb nodded, her gaze traveling over the painting. "It's been quite a year, huh? I'm really proud of you, Andy. It takes a lot of courage to be true to yourself like this." "I couldn't have done it without you," Andy said, squeezing her hand. "You, Renee, Rochelle, you all gave me the strength to be myself." "Nah," Barb shook her head, bumping her shoulder against his. "The strength was always there. We just helped you find it." As they stood there, surrounded by art and the low hum of conversation, Andy felt a surge of hope for the future. He didn't know exactly what lay ahead, but for the first time in his life, he was excited to find out. The next day at school, Andy walked through the hallways with his head held high. He wore a floral print dress over leggings paired with his favorite sneakers. It was an outfit that perfectly encapsulated who he was, a blend of masculine and feminine, soft and strong. There were still whispers and stares, but they didn't bother him as much anymore. For every confused look, there was a smile of support or a thumbs up from a fellow student. In class, he found himself more engaged than ever before. It was as if shedding the weight of his secret had freed up mental space, allowing him to focus and excel in his studies. During lunch, he sat with Barb and a growing group of friends who accepted him unconditionally. They laughed and joked, discussing everything from the latest fashion trends to their plans for the summer. As the final bell rang, signaling the end of the school year, Andy felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Summer stretched ahead, full of possibility. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.